Okay, so if you want to be successful in algebra, you absolutely need to be able to understand every single step that you are taking to solve a problem. So let's take this equation for example. We want to solve for c, and the equation is 19 over 3c squared minus 6c is equal to 1 over 3c plus 2 over c minus 2. Again, we want to solve for c, but we want to justify every single step that we are taking. And a good way to kind of keep you in check while you're doing a problem is to imagine that you are the teacher. In other words, that you would have to maybe teach this to someone else. How would you explain the solution and the steps involved in the solution? So that's a great way to kind of know if you actually understand something. If you can teach it, that's a good indicator, again, that you really learned it. All right, so feel free to use a calculator, but if you could solve this equation, well, go ahead and put your answer into the comment section. I'll show you the correct answer in just 1 second. Then, of course, I'll walk through exactly step by step how to solve this problem. But before we get started, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John, and I have been teaching middle and high school math for decades. And if you need help learning math, well, check out my math help program at tcmathacademy.com. You can find a link to that in the description below. And if this video helps you out, or if you just enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe, as that definitely helps me out. All right, so we got a pretty big equation here. 19 over 3c squared minus 6c is equal to 1 over 3c plus 2 over c minus 2. Boy, it seems like there's a lot of work involved. Well, there is a bit of work involved here. This is not going to be such a simple equation, but let's go ahead and take a look at the right answer. The correct answer is c is equal to 3. Okay, so how did you do? Well, if you got this right, that is fantastic. We have to celebrate by giving you a nice little happy face, an A plus, a 100%, and multiple stars. So you can tell your friends and family that indeed you are a certified professional expert in the area of solving rational equations, because that's what this is. We basically have fractions here, but these fractions have variable terms, namely polynomials, but we won't get overly technical. But when you have an equation and you have fractional or fractions with variables, i.e. Rational expressions, this is what we call a rational equation, right? And I'm kind of generalizing a bit here, but for those of you that might be studying algebra, you're going to study how to solve these type of equations in a chapter or unit called rational expressions, rational equations, etc., etc. Now, this word rational in mathematics implies fractions. Okay, of course, there's a technical definition. A rational number is a number that we can express as a fraction made up of two integers, and these terms, mean something, and you need to understand these terms. Okay, but some of you out there could have gotten this answer, c is equal to 3, but you may actually only have gotten maybe like an A minus, like a 95% or 90%. And you might be saying to yourself, what are you talking about, Mr. YouTube Math Man? You said that this is the right answer. Well, yes, that is the right answer, but there is a necessary step that we have to take in order to verify that, in fact, we do have the right answer. Of course, I'll explain that in just 1 second. All right, so a lot to cover here, and the whole point of this video, right? Obviously, I want to teach you how to solve a rational equation, but the bigger picture is um, if you really want to understand something, especially in mathematics, you got to think in terms of could you teach it? All right. In other words, it's not a bad idea. Now, I'm not saying, hey, you want to become a teacher or a math tutor, although as a math tutor, you can make a good little side living there. But, you want to think in terms of, hey, I'm going to explain this to someone else. In other words, I'm going to explain this to my teacher that my answer is right. In other words, you're always thinking in terms of justifying something. And if you can teach it, that means you can clearly communicate the main ideas to solve a problem. So if you truly want to master math, and of course, if you are a math student, there's no other way to approach the subject but just to kind of say, all right, I really want to understand this. Well, if you really want to understand it, there's no shortcuts, and you got to understand the big picture concepts. And hopefully, your math teacher lays this out nice and neatly well, during the course of instruction. Now, if you're not getting good instruction, this can be confusing. Now, if you need good instruction, math instruction, I'll give you some recommendations here in a second. But let's go ahead and just talk about, in general terms, how we solve a rational equation. And this is really critically important for those of you out there that are in first year algebra, second year algebra. This is an absolute critical skill. Now, there's a couple different ways here that we can solve this problem, okay? So we have two fractions here. We could add these fractions and be like, all right, I can add these up, which would be kind of adding rational expressions, and then I could have one fraction here that I could create basically a proportion and use the cross product. That's not necessarily the best way. That will likely get you in trouble. Anytime you have a rational equation, something like this, the best approach, okay, and I'm speaking in general terms, but almost always the best approach is to take this entire equation and multiply it by the LCD. Now, when we do that, the lowest common denominator, it's going to clear these fractions away. And then we can solve the remaining equation. And of course, there's some other steps that we would want to do. But we can't multiply this equation by the LCD unless we understand how to find the LCD. Now, there's some things in here that I'm going to be skipping because this problem really involves a lot of different algebra skills. If you need help with any of this stuff, check out my full algebra course, my Algebra 1 course, or my Algebra 2 course. You'll find links to those in the description of this video. If you happen to be in pre-calculus, you'll see that course down in the description as well. Okay, so this is the general idea. We have a rational equation. We want to clear the fractions. Okay, so this is kind of phase one. All right, so how do we find the LCD? Well, again, our first task is to find the LCD. So to find the LCD, we want to factor the denominator. So in terms of writing the steps down, in terms of explaining this or teaching this to someone else, you would say maybe, okay, hey, we want to find the lowest common denominator, or we want to first factor the denominator. Either way, you can't find the LCD unless we factor the denominators here. So we got to factor this, this, and this. And these two denominators are factored, so we have to factor this. Then, once we find the LCD, we are going to clear the fractions by multiplying the entire equation by the LCD. All right, so let's focus in on these steps because the remaining steps here is the following. Once we clear this entire rational equation by multiplying it by, clear the fractions that is, once we multiply the LCD by this entire rational equation, we're going to have a new equation, and then we're going to solve that remaining equation. All right, now, once we solve that equation, this solution to that equation may or may not be the actual solution to the original equation. Now, this is a concept called extraneous roots because when we multiply an equation, and if we're multiplying with something that has a variable in it, you can introduce extraneous solutions. And there's a lot of big concepts kind of going into this solution here. And this is what I mean by a lot of people not really understanding algebra as well as they think. They'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to take this step, this step, this step, but they don't really understand why they're taking these steps. And if you're trying to learn algebra in a kind of rote manner, ROTE, which is just memory-wise, like, okay, I would do step one, step two, step three. I don't really understand what the steps are, but I know I'm just going to kind of do this as a procedure. That is not a good way to learn math, okay? Although a lot of students learn math that way, and they're somewhat successful with that. But when it gets to the more advanced, challenging problems, they just don't really have the understanding because they just memorized the procedure. Okay, so I know I kind of said a lot here, but I'm kind of framing the whole big picture of this problem. And if you don't understand the specific thing that I'm doing, like factoring or multiplying or checking solutions or whatever the case might be, I need you to kind of check out my full course instructions by following those links in the description. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this right now. So here is our problem. So first things first, we're going to factor all the denominators, and we're doing that so we can find the LCD. So right here we can factor out the greatest common factor of 3c. So we have 3c squared minus 6c. So I can factor out 3c. So 3c times c minus 2 is, of course, 3c squared minus 6c. And now I have 3c times c minus 2, and I have a 3c here, and I have a c minus 2 here. So hopefully all of you understand the LCD to be 3c times c minus 2. Now, of course, I could stop this video and we can get into a full lesson on how to find the LCD. Even how to find the LCD with numbers. Let's suppose I had like 3 over 908 plus 7 over 1206. Imagine finding the LCD of those two fractions. Most people would be like, hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, I don't like your videos anymore. Matter of fact, I'm going to unsubscribe to you because you keep giving me these crazy problems to do. Well, listen, the procedure, how to find the LCD with these two numbers, is very much related to what you need to know to find the LCD with rational expressions. So again, if you don't understand arithmetic, you're going to have a tough time in algebra, right? So here's the deal. If you're like, oh boy, I have a lot of review to do, I just never learned this right, that's perfectly normal, okay? You need to be honest with yourself so you can figure out where you need to start and where you need to strengthen your understanding. But anyways, long story short, the lowest common denominator here is 3c times c minus 2. All right, again, if you don't understand that, you got to reference those particular courses. Also, I have additional videos on my YouTube channel that can help you out. All right, now that we know the LCD, we're going to multiply this entire equation by the LCD, because when you do that, we're going to clear away all these fractions, and it's just going to make things much easier for us. So let's go ahead and take the LCD, which is 3c times c minus 2, and we'll write this as a fraction because we have fractions here, and we're going to multiply the LCD by each term in the equation. All right, so we take this 3c times c minus 2 and we multiply by 19 over 3c, c minus 2. All these right here cross cancel, so we're left with 19. And then when I multiply 3c times c minus 2 times 1 over 3c, the 3c's cross cancel, so I'm left with c minus 2. And then 3c times c minus 2 times this, the c minus 2's cross cancel, so I'm with 3c times 2, which is 6c. Okay, so you can, obviously pause the video and walk through this step by step to make sure you understand this stuff, but this is how we multiply this term right here by all this stuff to clear the fractions. All right, so all that work led us to this lovely equation right here. 19 is equal to c minus 2 plus 6c, and now we have a lovely linear equation. All right, now before we solve this equation, we want to make note that we're multiplying both sides of the equation by a variable or variable expression. When you do that, you can introduce extraneous solutions. Matter of fact, let me explain this real fast. Let's say I had x is equal to 2, a lovely equation. The answer, obviously, x is equal to 2 is 2, right? That is the solution. There's nothing to do here. But let's suppose I multiply both sides of the equation by x. Now I have x squared is equal to 2x, right? So x squared is equal to 2x. Now this equation, I just changed it because I multiplied a variable by both sides of the equation. Now remember, the original answer was x is equal to 2. So 2 is the one and only solution to this equation, right? X is equal to 2. Well, x must be 2 because 2 is equal to 2. But let's take a look at what happened when I multiplied both sides of the equation by a variable. Now I have x squared is equal to 2x. So what we want to do here is set this equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract the 2x over to the other side. So now we have x squared minus 2x is equal to 0. And now I can factor out the x. So x times x minus 2 is equal to 0. Now I have what they call the factors. These two factors, I can use something called the zero product property to solve this. So x is equal to 0 right here, and x is equal to 2. Now, hopefully, all of you understand what I'm doing. So this is just a basic quadratic equation. So x is equal to 2 and x is equal to 0. Well, do I have any extra roots? Well, in the original equation, 2 is the right answer. So I have the right answer again. If I plug in 0, 0 is not equal to 2. So this is an extraneous or extra solution that popped up because I multiplied both sides of the equation by x. And this is what can happen. Again, most students or most people, they may know what to do, but they don't understand why they're doing it. And you want to really immerse yourself in the subject of algebra if you truly want to be effective at it and great at it. All right, so hopefully you learned something there. Now let's move on to solve this lovely basic algebra linear equation. All right, so 19 is equal to c minus 2 plus 6c. Pretty straightforward stuff here. So we're going to go ahead and combine like terms. So we have c, 6c, that's 7c. We'll add 2 to both sides of the equation. So we have 21 is equal to 7c, and then we'll divide both sides of the equation by 7. We get c is equal to 3. Now, a lot of you did this correctly, up to this point. So you might be saying, okay, Mr. YouTube Math Man, I'm so ready for my nice little happy face, my A plus, my 100%. Well, if you turned in your work to me, I would be like, minus 10. And then you would be like, what are you talking about, minus 10? I need to switch classes. I don't want you as my teacher anymore. Well, you're not done, okay? So this right here is only a possible solution because we very well may have introduced extraneous solutions. This is like you telling me, all right, I solved this equation, x is equal to 0. Well, it may or may not be. The only way to know whether in fact you have an extraneous solution as part of your solution set is to check this answer. Okay, this is not an optional thing. You must do this, and you need to understand, again, why you're doing what you're doing. All right, so let's go ahead and check to see if c is equal to 3 is in fact a good solution. But before we do this, we're going to do something even better, which is having you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, I wouldn't ask if I didn't need your support. I am on a mission to reach as many people as I possibly can. I'm making this video in the beginning of 2024. So happy New Year to all of you out there. But here's the thing. Last year, I think I was able to, I had like 37 or 34 million views on my YouTube channel, which was pretty incredible. But guess what? I'm setting new goals, as you should be, right, for a new year. So for me, I want to reach more people because the more people I can help in math, the better I feel like, I'm making, a difference for my little aptitudes and talents. And of course, we all have our own strengths and whatnot. Focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. But if you want to improve in math, set some goals, right? You got to set some goals, right, in all areas of your life. So if it's math you want to improve in, well, then figure out where is your starting point. You got to be honest with yourself, right? If you're struggling with algebra, maybe you really didn't understand pre-algebra or basic math too well. So like, all right, I'm going to review basic math. 2, I'm going to do more proms. 3, I'm going to, maybe sign up for this guy's course. Whatever the case is, when you set some goals, that's how you're going to actually, drive where you want to go in life. But for me, my goal is to reach way more people. Matter of fact, I'm on a goal to do 1,000 YouTube videos this year. Last year I did like 700 something. So I need your support, right? I need your support to grow my channel, to keep me going. I feed off your energy. So hit that subscribe button. And if you're going to do that, might as well hit that notification bell as well so you can get my latest videos. And this is the way I look right now because you hit that subscribe button. All right, so let's go ahead and finish up this problem. So what we need to do is go back to the original equation and plug in C or 3 for C. So we got C is equal to 3. It seems like a possible pretty good answer. I mean, it's a nice, lovely number. It's not a decimal or fraction, so it's not going to be that difficult to check. And we have to replace all these C's here with a 3. And then we got to see if, in fact, the left-hand side is going to be equal to the right-hand side. All right, so let's go ahead and do this now. So we're going to plug in a 3. We're going to replace all those C's with 3s, and now we're just going to do a bunch of number crunching. Now, mind you, at this point, a lot of you might struggle with the order of operations, right? So just don't trust your calculator. Write this stuff out step by step. All right, so 3 squared is what? 9. 9 times 3 is 27. Minus 6 times 3 is 18. 1 over 3 times 3 is 9. 2 over 3 minus 1. 3 minus 1 is 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish up the number crunching here. 19 over 27 minus 18 is going to be, well, let me go ahead and break it down over here. So 27 minus 18 is 9. So we have 19 over 9. And now we have 1 over 9 plus 2. Now 2 over 1, we have to add these two fractions right here. So the LCD is 9, so just going to multiply both the top and the bottom of this fraction by 9. So now I have 18 over 9. Now I can add these two fractions right here, and you can see we have a good solution because 1/9 plus 18 over 9. I'm going to add the respective numerators because I have the same denominator. I have 19 over 9 over here and 19 over 9 over here. The left is equal to the right. In other words, this is a true statement. Therefore, that is C is equal to 3 is the actual solution. So you need to show this part of the problem, okay? If you didn't do this, again, you are just kind of guessing, you're hoping. All right, so hopefully you kind of, absorbed at least some of the things that I'm trying to highlight in this video. We covered a lot of areas, and this is a big topic because to solve rational equations at this level means you have to understand factoring, LCD, et cetera, et cetera. So don't feel overwhelmed. Just kind of review what you need to review. But the bigger point is whatever you do in math, you got to show your work. You got to write each step, and you got to think about it in terms of, do I really know why I'm writing something down, or could I teach this? Because if you can kind of think in those terms, you are going to rapidly improve in mathematics. Okay, so with all that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your math adventures. Thank you for your time and have a great day.